This video shows you how to change the shocks on a 1993 Miata. So I've bought some Coney Street STR.T shocks. They're a slight upgrade, but they work with the standard springs. And the rear ones were fairly easy to change. So all you have to do is you start off in the trunk, or the trunk here, and you have to get down inside here. If you can show that back here, there's it's difficult to see, but right back here there's a bolt, a nut which holds the top of the shock. You have to loosen that off. Don't undo it completely, just loosen it off while it's in place. And then on each side of it there's a couple of nuts which hold the shock mount in. You have to completely remove those. So once you've got those off, move around the inside here, and you have to start by slackening off or removing the bolt in the bottom here. Was that the order? Actually, no, I'm not so sure. I think that's correct. So you remove that bolt there, holding the bottom of the shock, and then you have to get a pry bar here under here, like so, and you can just leverage down on the suspension arm, the top arm, and you can force it down, and you can force the suspension down enough so that the top of the shock here will just pop out. And once you've got the whole shock assembly out, then you need to use some spring compressors, which will move towards the front of the car here. Now let me go around the other way. I'll meet you at the other side. So then you have to use spring compressors to actually get the spring compressors. I've got them here. This is from Harbour Freight. I did try the all-in-one, but it's actually the catches and everything are too large to get on the Miata springs. They're too small for it. So these you can get them on. You need to put plenty of oil on the threads here to get the thing to move easily, and then you gradually compress the spring to the point where you can get that top bolt off the shock, off the spring rather. Well, no, it's off the shock. It's attached to the shock, but it's holding the top of the spring in compression. So you take that off, then you can put the new shock in with the old boot, or a new boot if you want to replace it, and then put the nut back on and release the clamps. I was pretty pleased with these, although they're not that strong. The bolts have got a little bit bent. You can see this one here. I don't know if you can see, but that bolt has actually got bent a little bit, which is a little bit worrisome because these things are under a lot of pressure. These little catches are really good, and you put these on each side, and it stops it from moving around, sideways, because I think the big danger is that these spring compressors can actually move around the spring, or move around to the other side of the spring and actually let go. So these safety clamps actually help keep it in position. Okay, so now the front one has proved to be a lot more difficult. One side was fairly easy, but this side here, has been rather troublesome. So it's the same sort of deal. You start at the top, you just loosen off this center nut here, you replace these two nuts at each side, they're still on there, they're loosened, but I've left them on because right now I'm having problems down here. So you have to, if you can see here, I've actually got the bolt removed from the bottom mount of the shock, and on the back suspension, on the front suspension, you can't leverage down and get the thing out. There's just not enough free play in there. So you actually, somehow you have to get one of these arms disconnected. Now on the other side, I managed to get this long bolt out here, out of the top A arm, and that just slid out. With that out, there's enough movement or room to get the shock out. It comes out fairly easily. On this one, the bolt is actually bent. You can see it here. You can actually see, if you look closely, you can see the A-arm moves up and down a little bit as I turn that bolt. So the bolt is actually bent, and it goes back a little way, but then it just gets stuck. I mean, I could, maybe somehow I could figure out how to get that bolt out. And if I was changing the bushings, I would have to. But then I moved to plan B, which was to get if you look in here, you want to come out around this side. Swap place, go there. So you look in here, there's actually a bolt just in here, which holds the bottom ball joint onto the lower suspension arm or A-arm or whatever it's called, and you can remove that, and you can also remove this bolt here, and then you can drop the A-arm out and the suspension should come out. So this bolt at the side was relatively easy. I got that out, no problem, but this top one would not move. So I've got here I've got a 700 foot-pound impact wrench. That wouldn't move it. I've got PB blaster. That wouldn't move it either. In the end, the only way I could get it out was with this propane torch. So I heated it with the propane torch for about a minute, and then I got the impact wrench on it, and it came out. So now I'm hoping this side's going to be, I can drop this lower arm down, and then I can actually get this final shock out of the car. So that's all. That's some of the issues or problems that you can have when changing the shocks. That's all. Thank you.